It is May 7th, and I've already played 25 new games this year, and aside from 2 or 3 of them, they've all been fantastic. The last few months will undoubtedly go down as one of the strongest openings to a year in the medium's history. But when I look back on it, I'm not just surprised by the general quality of recent titles, I'm also struck by the sheer variety. In one game, I fought my way through mythical Japanese beasts. In the next, I hunted massive robotic dinosaurs. In yet another, I descended to Earth with a squad of androids, clearing the way for the humans we left back on the moon. But just the other day, I started Outlast 2. It tells a gory, morbid, supernatural tale about fanatical cults in the American Southwest. It's tense and it's foreboding. At certain points, it's downright terrifying. All in all, it's a fairly miserable experience. Yet I can't wait to finish it. This is always fascinating to me. Why do I play games that I'm not enjoying? Why do I spend time with games that don't thrill me? Why do I pour hours into entertainment that isn't fun in the traditional sense? I think we all do this sometimes, and I think recent games such as Outlast 2, A Night in the Woods, Everything, and What Remains of Edith Finch are important reminders for me and for everyone that video games can be much more than just fun. So let's get something out of the way right up front. It's pretty tough to define fun, especially when it comes to video games, because we all play games for different reasons. Maybe it's for a sense of accomplishment, maybe it's an escape from our daily routines, or maybe it's for a sense of community as we catch up with friends and bond over our shared hobby. But on a basic, fundamental level, there's a psychological concept I want to use. It's called a flow state. Have you ever played a game for what felt like 10 minutes but was really 2 hours? Have you ever gone into autopilot when fighting a really difficult boss? You were probably in a flow state. It's that fine line between excitement, boredom, and anticipation. And when you think back on some of your favorite games, chances are they were good at placing you in this state. Whether it's through fluid mechanics, well-placed gameplay, or a good balance between challenge and reward, developers often strive to encourage this flow state. If they do that, they can then build upon it with more complex rules, systems, or storylines. Certain games come to mind when talking about this more traditional kind of fun. Super Mario 64, Super Smash Bros., and the vast majority of first-person shooters. But as games have evolved over the years and creators have gotten better at making them, our definition of fun has wavered and widened. And this is a great thing. Now, I play games that are fun, but also games that can pull me out of my comfort zone. I play games that keep me open-minded, games that provide something I can't find anywhere else. Maybe this is why I love good horror games. With all of their atmosphere and psychological trauma, they envelop me more than any other genre. They also provide more agency than horror movies, which separate me from the events unfolding. In Halloween, Michael Myers is chasing other people. In Outlast 2, deranged villagers are chasing me. Think back on movies you've seen throughout your life. Haven't you ever finished watching a film and said, "That was great, but I felt awful the whole time"? I felt this way about The Revenant, The Shining, and Mulholland Drive. They led me through uncomfortable situations. They sometimes made me feel ill. But that's exactly what the filmmakers wanted, because there's value in that. I think games, in their own way, can communicate stories and emotions we might not otherwise feel. We can experience a situation in the shoes of someone else.
Someone broke in.
They what?
They wrecked the place. Threw my typewriter out the window.
We might not reach that flow state that I mentioned, that more comforting sense of fun, but that doesn't make these games any less rewarding. Look no further than That Dragon Cancer. This is a tragic, powerful, sometimes beautiful story about parents doing their best to raise a son with terminal cancer. Using the interactivity of the medium, That Dragon Cancer shows young Joel Green's perilous journey through illness, recovery, and his eventual death. Some have said this game would function better as a movie, but That Dragon Cancer's creator, Ryan Green, recognized the value of agency inherent to video games. He could create a world for people to not just see, but also inhabit.
Now, interactive spaces don't always have to compel players to go on to the next action or activity. They can help us create a space where the player can stand still. And once the player is in control of the pacing of the narrative, they can linger. And then, as the designer, we can acknowledge what they care about and reward their presence.
Other games deliver negative emotions without such a linear story. Take something like XCOM 2. In its own way, this game makes use of much more than traditional fun. Through turn-based combat, deep strategy, and extreme difficulty, XCOM 2 conveys the pain of failure, as our favorite soldier dies because of a simple mistake. But it also encourages us to roll with the punches, to make the best of failure and move forward regardless. Then you have Papers, Please. This game places you in the role of immigrations officer, and almost every step of the way confronts you with difficult moral decisions. You examine immigration papers, deciding who to let through, who to reject, and in the case of falsified information, who to detain. It gets even more difficult when immigrants clearly don't have the right papers, yet they have awful stories to tell about their former homes. It would be easy to let them through out of compassion, but your salary is contingent upon your performance, and you have your own family at home to feed as well. And this conversation would not be complete without the puzzle game The Witness. It is in no way fun. Yes, it's rewarding to the 10th degree when you've spent hours trying to solve a single puzzle only to discover the solution right under your nose. But I would never call The Witness fun, and I will never play it again. Yet, it's one of my favorite games in recent memory. And that's because The Witness, more than any other game I can think of, trusts that players are intelligent, and it communicates its ideas eloquently, helping you accrue knowledge as you investigate this mysterious island, and it is knowledge itself that becomes your key for getting around. Now, don't get me wrong, I don't want every game to communicate negative emotions, or the utility of failure, or the importance of learning. One of my favorite games ever, Timesplitters 2, is the epitome of fun. It's a shooter with goofy humor and ham-fisted dialogue. It uses time travel to justify having characters and weapons from the Wild West, the far future, Soviet Russia, and 1930s Chicago. There are evil snowmen and undead priests. I love it with all of my heart.
Whoa!
But there are more intelligent people making games by the day, and many more intelligent people playing them. And there will always be room for the next Zelda, Persona, or Ghost Recon. But that doesn't mean we should discount games such as A Night in the Woods, Everything, or What Remains of Edith Finch simply because they don't deliver fun in the traditional sense. Personally, I want the medium to keep questioning and hopefully defying what it means to be a video game. I want games to morph and twist and get weirder and convey new ideas that fly in the face of tradition. I want developers to be bolder with each new game they create. I want players to play these games and to acknowledge that the medium can be about much more than just fun. Hey everyone, thanks so much for watching episode 6 of Reboot. If you've been watching this far, then you know next week Jake and I will be answering questions about episode 6 and taking suggestions for future episodes. So in the meantime, get your YouTube comments in, tweet at us, Mike Mahardy and Jake Dekker, and maybe we'll feature you on our show. We'll see you next week.